Yeah, so I'm Monty, part of the On Farm podcast team. Today we're going to be visiting a farming neighbour of mine who's also pretty much a rugby legend, Doddie Weir. It feels strange because Doddie, he's a neighbour, he's a mate, and I want to get this right from his point of view and from the podcast point of view. But B, it does feel awkward. So, this is a chat with him, hopefully, but it could be different from just sitting down as we maybe normally would for a coffee. I think actually in some ways that's what's made it a bit more poignant and sad about Doddie's condition, because he would be up where we're going, on the farm. He would be there on a two-wheel motorbike, trials motocross bike, and he'd be zooming around with virtually no regard and going to check his sheep and just, that's how he was. And now it's quite sad because he's not as able at all, and that's quite difficult. We want to talk about farming, we want to talk about the rural borders, and we'll see how we get on with that, because Doddie, he likes to get the bit between his teeth and tell you a story. So, we've just arrived at Doddie's place. We'll give the kitchen window a rattle and see who's around.
Morning.
Dodgy?
What a fine day.
Do you want a coffee, Monty?
Would a cup of tea be on offer, Rosie, please?
Hello.
Hi, Kathy. We're all right, you?
Yes.
Yeah, good. Feeling slightly awkwardly apprehensive about this because your husband's a pro at this and I'm just learning, but we'll get there.
I'm quite sure he'll tell you what you're doing.
Yeah.
Right. You know him, Monty?
Yes,
Don't be afraid. Be
No,
very afraid.
No. So the podcast, it's a series, and it's called On Farm. On Farm being on food, agriculture and rural matters. So we're hoping today to chat to you about farming and life in the rural borders. But I can see you're still buzzing from the other night and the BBC Sports Personality of the Year Awards. How are you feeling about that?
That was quite an emotional time, but it's just the journey we're on at the moment, Monty. The friends, family that we've been with made a very special evening. Princess Anne being there was pretty impressive. So, again, I need to dedicate it to people like yourself, because remember, it was 2 years ago maybe when you started your tractor rally, and the awareness and the amount of people came out that day was just outstanding. So with people like yourself and many others, I had to dedicate the award, because it wasn't for people like you and many others, I certainly wouldn't be standing up on that stage.
Doddie, I don't know what to say. I mean, I really think that I wasn't going to even touch on the tractor rally. I didn't really want to bring myself into that, but the only thing I would say about that is I think we were all shocked, majorly shocked with your diagnosis, and and I mean all. I think this part of the world in the rural borders, we were all shocked, and I just had an idea that we could get a few people together, and I think that the depth of the support just blew me away, and that was for you. That's because you have done. We're here to chat about what you've done, about the farming side of things and what have you, but it really is true that long before this M&D unfortunately came along, you did so much for organisations in this part of the world, for charities. You were never shy of giving up your time to help out or to speak or whatever, or switch on Christmas lights and that sort of thing. For example, the tractor run was just one way of paying that back, and hopefully it goes away to do that. But we're all there for you.
No, Monty, thank you very much for you never mention that. But we'll go back to the diagnosis. I was very similar to yourself and a lot of other people who are listening to this podcast. You're looking and saving up for the future, so we come to your retirement, and I was one of them. Got my small holding here at the sewage company as well. looking forward to the day that it all finishes when you're 60, 65. Then one day you kind of wake up with a bit of muscle loss in your left hand and your skin twitching. And a year down the line, you could say once you get tests, you've got MND. So that wasn't the best of days, but there was no reason why I got it, no reason why I'm here. But what is a solace is as you mentioned, the farming world and the small holding we've got here. It's a good getaway clause. I've enjoyed the country life from day one, lived on a farm from day one. And ironically, all the lovely awards that I'm receiving this year, the one I'm most impressed with is my HND in agriculture. I had to work for 4 years to get that.
That's from SRUC?
Yeah. They weren't called them at the time, but SAC at the time, Edinburgh.
Yeah.
Learning how to cook on your own because you're away from your mummy, and learn how to wash, learn how to drink properly, and learn how to party. That's what we did. And the better you did at that, the better reward you got. So I didn't quite get distinction in that, just below.
Do you see yourself as a farm laddie who got lucky at rugby, or are you, a rugby player that happens to be from a farming background?
I'm telling you, when you have a look at life back, even the way I am with MND, I'm very lucky at everything. Even with this MND lack as well. And a lot of the people maybe look back in their lives, and I talk about this quite a bit. You go back, I was lucky the way I grew up. Mum and Dad put a lot into their education, didn't do that well, I'm not that clever. Their farming background as well. They're farmers just up the valley on the East Simon Valley. They've got about 1,000 acres still there. Unfortunately, Mum we lost in June, but Dad's still farming sheep, beef and arable. So it gave me the background to do. And wonderfully enough, it's strange enough, I was involved in the horses. So having a bit of land made the horse world easier. So again, I was very lucky there. Mum did quite a lot for us in the horses. Dad supported us.
You've talked about this before. Your first thing was pony club and show jumping and what have you, much more so than rugby. But I would say it, I'm not much of a sportsman, but I would see it as once you've got the discipline, don't laugh.
You can see that sporting's not a big part of your life, big fella.
But once you've got the kind of discipline, which you did, because you did quite well with the horses, equestrianism, once you've got the discipline, was that easier to transfer that into the rugby world? I
think it was, and you're right, we've talked about it before and do a lot about team building. I think you're correct with the horses, gave you a core, gave you an inner stability. But then when you're up at heights, going over jumps, you have an idea about timings. When you're in the jump off, you like to try and cheat as much as possible. And that brought through again with your dressage tests. You had to learn that like line-out codes. So it did, and also being competitive. And that's what the world's about, being competitive. But also if you don't win, be very sporting at the same time. And that brought through not just sport, but the world we're in. So we got into that frame, went to 4 years at King's Buildings, came out and played for Melrose Rugby. And again, that was luck. A gentleman called Sandy Fairbairn, who was in the horses, said, come and play for Melrose. Where my dad played for Gala, and just by luck, because I couldn't do Gala because the horses was in the same day, I went, going to Melrose Rugby team, by luck. I was looking for a job because the old boy said there's no job at home because he knew that I would probably never be there. So Carl's McTetley Brewing came on board and offered me a job, so I went to sell beer.
How lucky is that? You are talking about luck here, but you're getting to play rugby and then someone offers you a job working for a brewery.
Doesn't get any better than that, no. Because the pubs are really only open in these days from 11 till 3. So every day that's all I had to work and go and speak to a lot of people, play some pool, some darts. And then from there, Rob Andrew came on board to become a professional rugby player. And again, possibly by luck, we were fortunate in the national team at the time. And then we left rugby. The old boy didn't want me back. So the father-in-law got me in the sewage industry, and then buying this place, again, was a bit lucky, because we had to, I think, borrow maybe 13 times your wages at the time, which today wouldn't be allowed. Yeah. So you look back, and then this MND lack that I've got, I'm very lucky in a way, because other people who've had MND are dead within 3 months. Yeah. So I'm 3 years still smiling, speaking to you.
I think that's been a major inspiration for anyone with any, it's not just MND, is it? Anyone who's suffering from a kind of condition, illness, terminal or otherwise, to see you still doing the do, still getting on with life and actually taking it on head on is got to be an inspiration.
Oh, it's very kind of you, but I think when you have a look to see what the MND is about, there's no drugs, there's nothing on the table. And I think you go back to sports and maybe the education within the rugby is this positive mind, don't give up.
Yeah.
So an example, just my shoes there, I can't tie my shoelaces at the moment, so I've got rubber laces that I can still get my shoes on and off myself. People don't have to put my shoes. There is a way around it, and you've got to adapt. The same with drinking.
Yeah.
Can't drink with one hand on a pint glass, where I can drink with two hands and a wee handle.
Yeah.
So I always say, if there's a problem, don't give me the problem, give me the solution.
Yeah. I mean, again, just staying serious and probably looking a wee bit about the farming world at the moment, there is an issue at the moment, isn't there? And we hear about it all the time with mental health in farming. If someone listening to this podcast could think, actually, there's a guy dealing with a lot of SH1T, and just listening to that, how positive you are about just, it's mindset. I
definitely think that, but farming is a very tricky industry. With this issue I've got the most amazing team behind, so I have the most amazing support. Mm-hmm. But you can see Mr. Farmer on his own, trudging away and farming is such a nightmare. You don't know what you're going to get for your barley. You don't know what you're going to get for your cattle. You've put a lot of hard work in. The commodity, the prices of the cake that you feed them now is quite expensive. And everyone wants to look after their animals as well as you can. And at the farming at the moment, when you get in that deep hole, it's very difficult to get out because you just don't know what you're going to get for your animals. Yeah. You can understand these boys in a bit of trouble, but all that my advice would be is don't be shy to ring up for help. And that's the best thing I did with MND, was to come out and tell friends, look, I've got this terminal issue, I might need your help, and there's nothing to be shy or sorry for asking for help, because it's been us big boys. I've been shed many a tear over this journey, and do it because the way I am and emotional and the friends. So people who are in trouble that you mentioned, please just pick up the phone and ask for help, and that's what it's here for.
You knew about this and you were diagnosed about this Christmas time, January, 3 years ago. Is that roughly? That's
what then, yeah.
Aye. A short while later, I can't get the dates right, but oh well, I know. But you stood up at a dinner and you compared, and you were master of ceremonies, whatever you want to call it. You were Doddie anyway, at a dinner for RSABI, the rural charity. In my head, that was about 10 days after your diagnosis. That must have taken a bit of strength.
It did, but there was a harder one just before that. At the same time as I got diagnosed, Mum got diagnosed with cancer and weren't very sure that she would reach that Christmas. Yeah. So that's why we kept it quiet till the January. But just maybe a couple of months before, it was a bit harder, that we spoke at my niece's 21st. She'd lost her dad, Michael Dunn, who's a big farming boy. Mm-hmm. And that was quite a tricky time, because at the time, when you got MND, you just don't know how long you're going to live for. It could have been 3 months, and I could have said goodbye to my niece, nephew, cousins, my own family. But we're still here. But I tell you, the farming has got a lot to do with why I'm still here, because I mentioned before, keeping active is very important, so it doesn't allow your mind to think about your issue. And being on the farm, the fresh air, getting out and about, it's just been amazing for me.
Is it a pain in the posterior, folk like me coming and asking about your issue, though?
Only you. Everyone else is. No, not at all, because Monty, this MND has no time spent. There's no new drug for the last 28 years on the table. No, to me that's ridiculous. So when somebody gets MND, they've got no chance because there's no option. So when you've got the dreaded cancer, which is horrific in itself, there's a very good chance that you're going to survive nowadays. With MND, there's no chance because there is no drug. So we need to change that. So more people, kind of like yourself and what you've done with your tractor rally, people still talk about it. Over 200 tractors churn through the borders. We need to do a lot more of that, and that's why the